And other times you could make something that's actually kind of cool. It takes some getting used to, and it actually turns out to be awesome. And it contains some knowledge of what came before, or an acknowledgement that the internet is more than just this fancy new piece of architecture, but there's all this other stuff out there. So that, I think it has to be just a very sort of conscious urbanist attitude that we take to doing any of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. So I wonder, there is this sense that if you are inhabiting the social media sphere as a company, that if you are open and honest and have integrity and everybody's happy and I don't want to use the word bro-y again, but that is a winning strategy that is gonna make your customers happy, and it's gonna everybody's gonna love you. You're all gonna be, I'm trying to think of Media Temple, they really want to be your bro on Twitter, or at least I kind of feel that way. Do you guys have a feeling about that?
I think that's a really, really great philosophy that sold a lot of books about PR on the internet, but I don't think it's always practical. There are any number of just add water social media experts who will spit that one out, and there's nothing that's one size fits all on the internet or in life itself. And Jesus, the Time Warner Cable has 47,000 employees and 13 million customers. It's not a damn daisy factory, to quote Raising Arizona. People get mad at work and they say stuff, and we're a publicly held company, so we have very, very strict laws from the Securities and Exchange Commission and then relationships with the government, and then responsibilities to our customers that we have to consider with a lot of communications. So just like the naive, and this is not about you, I'm irritated with the dominant social mindset in this space that we all occupy, but the naive mindset that as long as everybody loves their job, don't worry about it, because that's bullshit. If everybody loved their job, we wouldn't have to market anything. We would just all wear white robes and sing Kumbaya all day, okay? So, yeah, you have to consider what makes sense, and you have to come up with some kind of, one of the things I'm tasked with is figuring out what constitutes good judgment for what to communicate and when and to whom. You try to teach judgment the best you can, and then you have to make rules for the people that you don't know. So that's just where that goes.
Yeah. No, I agree. Virgin America, Apple, they have their customer base. They have that attitude that they have to portray, and they have to do more, ingenious, intuitive, kind of quirky things. But something like Time Warner, they do have to watch out for all these other issues that a lot of people don't expect. So
right, and also
totally respectable.
Yeah, and people don't want us to be cool. They want to like us, but we're there to provide we provide the network by which other people we provide the internet, and then other people create the content over the pipes. We deliver the movies, but we are not a movie studio. So there's always a challenge, like a brand perception challenge for us we want to be known as the people that provide the stuff that makes your life happen from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and then records all the stuff you want to see while you're asleep. We do that, but we don't want to over-assert it. There's nothing sadder than that desperate person.
This is making me crazy. Can we somehow get this to stop blinking?
Yeah.
Please. Yeah. Continue. Sorry, Jeff.
No, and I think that's the thing for you, though, is there's that do no evil. You want to be positive, you want to be happy, you want to make people feel happy and know that they're comfortable with who you are.
Yeah, and you don't want to be that kid that's trying to buy friends. You know what I mean? That's just sad.
Yeah.
And so I think the sort of next step in the line of questions is, if you think about this idea of the internet as city, and that you're building these structures that sometimes at the beginning people have to get used to. There's an uncomfortable change, and then people want the old Facebook back. But then after a while they get used to it, they realize that it's their favorite thing ever. Is the sense of the corporation acting as friend or as compatriot a new development? Do you guys have a sense as to whether or not that is something that is just going to grow and grow and grow, and then eventually we'll just get used to it, that you will be able to text with Time Warner, and you're going to be able to say, "Lol, not going to be at home for my cable appointment. Come next week. WTF! Exclamation point. 111." Or like you're going to be able to like send an message to Stop and Shop, or be like, "Hey, the eggs were rotten. Can you refund me right now?" And they're like, "No prob, dude."
I would.
Sorry, I went a little overboard.
No, that's good. I want the old Facebook back, actually. Yeah, I mean, people have been friends with companies for forever. The companies have always tried to embody certain personalities and sort of insinuate themselves into your homes and your lives, and I think that we have to acknowledge that we think of companies in the way that they now are legally allowed to be treated as persons, at least for campaign finance purposes. But I guess the point is just that, I think that's going to happen because it's already happened, and it's just a question of how does the social media make that experience more familiar, provide more data on both sides. And that is not necessarily something that companies, I think, can do on their own. I mean, I think if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen fairly organically, and we can talk about what that means. But it's not like a company is going to force themselves to be your friends, like Jeff was saying.
Is there anybody in the audience that's old enough to remember before, like, the inception days of call centers? Yep. What was it like when you called to get service back at those times when, like, not everybody was doing it? Yeah. Nice to us. And when the old days, they were. Yeah. They were backed up, and we have an opportunity now to go back to that. The fact that it's not that we don't like advertising, right? We don't like bad advertising. It's not that we don't like brands. We just don't like brands that are rude and brands that don't deliver what we want. And I think there's some sex differences in terms of how we engage with brands. I mean, I've heard a lot of bros and dudes, but not a lot of sisters on this panel so far.
Apologies, I'm sorry.
And I think that people engage with brands differently online and off, depending on who they are and where they are in their life cycle. And particularly, I think women engage with brands very differently than you guys have described up here. Yeah. Well, because I have this theory, and you can confirm or deny it, that back in the old days of like call center based businesses, and we're a huge call center based business, right? But like 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, 30 years ago, whenever it was, the call centers were just taking off, you used to just be able to call somebody up, and there was a friendly voice on the phone, and they would roll a truck or fix anything. And this was like either for cable or buying plane tickets or changing your insurance policy or anything. But I wonder if we're not just along a natural, sort of like a trending upward S-shaped curve where we're in some high development right now, and then we're going to plateau for a while. And the last one was the phone, where, somebody would just answer your call in like 5 rings and then take care of you, and then that's it. But then once the entire United States started doing that, and call centers got bigger, people started calling more, and we started accepting it, then we reached inefficiencies of scale. And I think we should look back at the phone days, maybe talk to people and realize what worked and what didn't. I mean, one of the tragic things about the web is there's not very much of a sense of history before Google came out. But if we were to research people that remember calling their companies, what was it like? When did it begin to change? And then see what we can reasonably apply when we're dealing with this kind of scale.
Yeah. I mean, and that's all great and everything. I mean, it's good to have an honest face, an honest voice to listen to, or even an honest text message or whatever else. But there's also that boundary of like, how much can you trust company? Am I going to send a text, like you were saying earlier, like, oh my God, I just broke up with my girlfriend, I feel so sad. Like,
need more cable.
Yeah. I mean, how much can I trust? How much can I, entrust privacy? Are you guys going to comfort me? Are you guys going to make me feel better? Like, a company can be a person to a certain extent, but you won't have that true trusting relationship that you do with an actual physical person. Right.
So it might be a thing that eventually people get used to the idea, but it never reaches that ideal.
Yeah.
I also really like this idea because I'm young enough that like a time before the internet just barely exists. And so I like this idea of the internet as the cause of and solution to all of life's problems. That like there's, we had this moment and then we moved away from the moment because of the technology afforded to us by, a global network computer system. And now we're going back to, the ideas and the values that we, thought were the most important before this technology came along. So the idea of like the call center, was the place that you called to get help from a friendly person, and that they would provide you with that help, and then you start to distance yourself from people, through a computer screen, and now we're getting back to, sort of that more friendly idea. Yeah.
Well,
Alex?
I think it's not just about the distance that comes with the virtual life that's made this change possible. Of course, I think it's got a lot to do with marketing. So, I used to be in love. I used to go to every Macworld Expo. I was like super hardcore Mac user, and at some point, like all my friends like PowerBooks were like they broken or dying, and then one day my iPod stopped working for no reason, and I brought it to the Apple Store about 5 times just to get to see a genius. And
if you could say that with a little bit more anger,
just to get to see a genius, that was actually like scary. Yeah, it was more like metal. Got to see the genius, and his solution for my broken iPod was not I'm gonna repair it, take it apart. It's we will just give you a new iPod for the price of a new iPod. I was out of my warranty or whatever. Anyway, point being, Apple has been brilliant at marketing and design like no other. But people do care about how things work. And I think, if that's one of the things I took away from this morning from Mark's presentation is that we are moving back to a culture of connection with our objects and using our hands and doing things ourselves. And I think we're also expecting to touch things and to have things work for us. I mean, we've gone through too much bullshit over the past few years to want to have to like deal with some new fancy name for like a customer service project. What we want is a customer service program that just works. That when you call the phone number, you call the hotline, you actually speak to someone after 3 rings. And you don't listen to like all this jargon about all the good things they're doing with their customer service.
So just to sort of switch gears a little bit, we've heard Jeff's story about his really positive interaction with a company in social media, and I wonder if you guys have you had like an experience that is similarly positive, or something that like after it happened you're like, oh yeah, they kind of nailed it.
Not really.
Yeah.
I'll think about it.
Think about it.
Yeah.
What about one that was anything that was really bad?
I think I try to forget a lot of those, just out of my own respect.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right. Well, we can come back to it.
We'll think about it.
We'll come back to it.
Yeah, it's actually a really good question.
Well, I mean, I guess I could say like real quick, like I know Squarespace like for a long time had this like month-long thing, and like you have to retweet this certain thing to be entered into a raffle, and my Twitter feed just like blows up with all my friends like talking about Squarespace, and there's other companies doing that too, and like things like that are kind of annoying, I guess.